Let's pick up where we left off last time. We're going to go ahead and show you how to set this up so you can do actual animation. What would happen is that after that storyboard was done, the director would come along and slug the board. So let's look at the slug that was put on this board. So you remember that we have the two shot here of the guys looking at something. Scooby and is just staring. Shaggy says, "Hey, Scoob, look over there." And Shaggy turns his head and points. The director would come along and put down on the board a slug for holding 8 frames. Then the dialogue would follow on the track. "Hey, Scoob." Dialogue would continue. "Look over there." Shaggy would turn his head and point with a 6-frame overlap for each move. As he says his line, turns his head and points, and at the end of the scene, he would hold at least 8 frames, maybe more. So let's look at what the sheets look like to set this up. So here we have an exposure sheet. We've got a red line across that denotes the beginning of the shot. Field size, 9 field center. Scene number 2. You've got Scooby here, Shaggy here, because that's where they are on the screen, right? Scooby, Shaggy. We're going to hold Scooby the entire scene. We'll put a blink in here. That could be moved anywhere we want. Doesn't have to be here. It could be up here. It could be down here. Shaggy will say his line. He's going to hold, basically, say his line. He's going to have a slight tilt head up on the word Scooby. So he says, "Hey, Scoob." And his head will go up and then settle back down. Then here, where he says, "Look over there," he will turn his head. Takes 6 frames to do that. When he starts to turn his head, 2 frames later, he will put his hand up to point fast and settle into that pose number 2, which is this pose. And he says, "Look over there," turns and points. And here's the end of the line here. Holding 8 frames would take us down to here, but let's keep it for another 4 frames. So it's going to actually be a hold of 12 frames. That's the director's prerogative to do something like that. So that's how the work then goes to animation director after it's been storyboarded. Now, the next step we showed you was doing character layouts, which is 2 drawings. He says, "Hey, Scoob, look over there," and points. We have same as for Scooby. Back here is the mystery machine. The mystery machine would be on another level. Scooby would be on another level, and Shaggy would be on another level. So we will have 3 levels, at least in the shot. And we'll have the background, which is the bottom level. The animator would then get this layout and exposure sheet and begin doing his numbering for his scene, which would, after him, go to background layout to draw maybe the prop of the Scooby machine, the mystery machine, and the background that's behind them, whatever it is, a building, a forest, trees, whatever. The animator might start by putting in his numbers here, a 1 for Shaggy and a 1 for Scooby. So he might do SH1 for Shaggy and SC for Scooby for his numbering. And he would probably hold Scooby all the way down. Shaggy, though, he would have to change. So at some point, Shaggy's going to have a layer of mouths on top. That 1 may hold, and then he may have M1 would be here. And then according to our exposure sheet, where he says, "Hey, Scoob, look over there," we here have the mouth breakdowns of what mouths need to be used, mouth codes, lip assign. So for C, that's going to be 3. For D, that's going to be 4. In between there to go back down to C, don't have to, but see how it looks. M2 for B, M5 for E, M6 for F, and back to 1 for A. H is going to be 8. F is going to be, well, this will change. So let's just take that out because this stuff will change as we're animating. Even these will change as we're animating. So we will probably put the M3 here. Let's see, that one, 3, and then 4, and go back down to here. So when the animator gets this slight tilt head up means that Shaggy's head is going to go up a little bit. Like that. So it started with his head like this. And it tilted up and came back down to its original point, starting point. And then it turned, which we have on our storyboard and on our layout. So he turned to look over. That goes down. That goes down. As an animator, you take this layout drawing, or these 2 layout drawings. Let's put these over here. And maybe just so that we don't get confused. Take this layout drawing, put it here, put down a clean sheet of paper, because we're going to be separating these guys. And what he might do is take his dark blue pencil and start roughing out what he wants to do. So these are the animator's drawings now. We've done the layout drawings. This is the animator's drawings, roughing in the movements. And that's roughly number 1. The mouths will be separated off. So each mouth has to separate out like that. And this would be, what do we say? M1 for closed mouth. And we're going to go to an M3 for C mouth. And an M4 for D mouth. And they may or may not have done a thing where his jaw actually went down as he spoke. So there's A, B, and D. Oh, it's A, C, and D, because he's saying, hey, 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 right? And then he goes back to the C mouth, and then he goes to a B mouth, which is 2. And the B mouth is a little bit more closed. Okay, so where we left off was that I had made separate mouths, mouth levels for the character speaking, and roughed in his start position, which is going to be SH1, and the director is calling for his head to go up a little bit when he says Scooby's name. So that means his head has to tilt up like this, tilt up and back basically. Now his center line comes like that, and his ear would come down a little bit like this. Everything else would stay the same. That's basically a trace back. That's what we call that. Everything the same as trace back, whatever you want. And his eye line here, nose. You can rough in stuff as you do this. And he's going to be saying something, so his mouth will be open, and you can check and see what mouth position he's supposed to have, which in this case is an F mouth. So we do this because he's saying, hey, Scoob. I don't know if his F mouth has a little bit of tooth in it or not, but you check that on the mouth charts as you go. Rough in that big mound of shaggy hair that he has. Just comes down over his ears and then there, like that. And we see a little bit on the side. And then it's going to go back down. So this one would be starts to move his head up. So let's make that one 3, 5, 7, 9. Actually, that one wouldn't even be there, would it? The first drawing moving would be here. 3, 5, and then 7 here. And then 9 and 11 is when he goes back down, which is a reuse of pose 1. And we are going to make that one a same as pose 1. So let's just trace off everything that we did there. And make a note to yourself, same as as Shaggy 1. And it's actually going to be Shaggy 11. And the mouth on that is supposed to be closed. So what the guys would do sometimes is just have the head separate. And that's totally up to you. If you're trying to save on paint, you'll make the head separate. Whole separate element. So he comes down like that. And now our next thing is that he has to turn his head. So let's get our layout for that here. And he's going to, we're going to take a little tracing here of the rough of his head. And on turning his head, again, he's got an F mouth. So we do this and like this. And there's this beard stuff here. And that one is going to be, let's see, 11 can hold. So we'll need, we can reuse mouths. And we can do an extra mouth here, but the next drawing here be 13, 15, 17. So this is SH 17 when he turns his head. We're going to have his arm go up, so we can trace that off of here. And the shirt comes down. Hello, kitty. What would a video be without the kitty? Come on, I got to do this. Come on. And as the animator, you can change that arm. And this might be arm. And over here we can see what arms we need to have going up. So it would be start here. And we might call it the same number as the head, but we can make it arm 3 and arm 5, arm 7, and arm 9. So this is the final pose. So this is 7. And that's kind of an overshoot, but not a lot. So then let's have it just settle down like this. And this might be arm 9. It's a very fast settle down. So that's basically how you plan out your limited animation. This is how we used to do it. And in the next part, we'll go over how this all gets cleaned up and finalized. So until then, keep drawing and have fun.